Hello, and thank you for joining me today. Well, this is the Monday, February 13th edition of our video devotionals, and thank you so much for joining us today. Hope your Monday's going well, and we call this Marvelous Monday, and just to try to have the right mindset to begin the work week and the school week. And then, of course, you had the weekend and Sunday. Hopefully you had a good weekend and Sunday. And I know for us weather-wise, it's pretty raw on Sunday. Yesterday, it was, I think, a high of about 40 and rainy and blowing and all of that. And I figured, usually weather like that in winter, you get colder and kind of real dry and crisp. But today's supposed to be back up to 63. So we're definitely having some weather that's unusual for us, but it is comfortable and we'll take it. All right. So we have here from our Today book, normally we read the day of, which would be the 13th, but I'm going to read just a few entries here from the 11th and the 12th and the 13th because it is, it was Saturday and Sunday, but some interesting things that happen on these days. So we'll read from the 11th, the 12th, and the 13th. This won't take that much time. But it says in 1847, February the 11th, the birthday of Thomas Edison. 1861, Abraham Lincoln left Springfield, Illinois, for the White House. In 1915, Fanny Crosby died. And of course, she's noted for beautiful hymns like Blessed Assurance. February the 12th, 1809, yesterday's date, Abraham Lincoln's birthday. So, of course, this month we have President's Day, but one of those noted presidents, of course, is Abraham Lincoln, 1809. Let's see, 1893, General Omar Bradley was born, of course, associated with World War II. And then we get down here to February 13th, today's date. It says in 1741, the first United States magazine was published. Interesting. 1635, the first public school was established in Boston. And then in 1877, the first long-distance phone message was made. I think it says it was made from Salem to Boston. And so a lot of interesting things, and especially in light of the technology we have today. All righty, so our next step, of course, is to read from the Bible. And we're just going to read one verse today. We're going to read Numbers chapter 4, verse 49. So my reading this morning was chapters 4 and 5. And so as I was reading through all of this, I said, here's what we're going to zero in on today, Numbers 4 and verse 49. So before we read it again, thank you for all who watched the videos. Appreciate everybody, whether you've been with us for a good while, coming up on 3 years now, and then some have just come in and joined us within the last week or so. So we appreciate all of you, okay? All righty, so notice what it says here. It says, according to the commandment of the Lord, they were numbered by the hand of Moses, everyone according to his service and according to his burden. Thus were they numbered of him as the Lord commanded Moses. So, it's interesting. The name of our book is Numbers. Now, did the original penner of these scriptures, whoever it was, sit down? And of course, it's always ascribed to Moses, the first 5 books of the Bible. So let's just say it was Moses. Did Moses, as he began to write these things, did he say, okay, we're going to call this book Numbers? Probably not. But the book is full of things about numbers, numbering this and numbering that, and very exact in all the purposes of it. So as I look here, basically what these 2 chapters here are about the service and the census of the Levites and those that were supposed to take care of the duties of the tabernacle and those things within it. So there were, as I wrote down here, there was these families or these groups mentioned. One that's mentioned quite a bit, the Kohathites, Merari, and Gershon. And of course, these were part of the Levites and they had their duties. So as I go back to the verse here and I see what it says here, of course, the big thing that stands out, first of all, according to the commandment of the Lord. Moses didn't come up with the idea of numbering. He didn't say, okay, we're going to start numbering. All these ideas, all this numbering, okay, that's from God. Now, you fast forward in our day and age, sometimes people say, well, numbers are not important. Well, go back to Pentecost. The Lord said there was 3,000 that were saved there. It mentions 5,000 on another date. It mentions numbers all the time. So we can't say that numbers are not important. They are important. And Jesus, the scriptures noted that there were 4,000 fed and 5,000 fed, and there were the 12 apostles. So numbering is important, and there's a basis for it, of course. So I say that because this was according to the commandment of the Lord. All right. Then it says everyone according to his service and according to his burden. All right. So that means they had a responsibility. And these were numbered. They were counted to say, okay, we've got this many for this duty, and we've got this many for this responsibility, and we've got that. And they were numbered, and the Bible gives those numbers. And it says, thus were they numbered of him. So let's think about our day here, okay? And I'll kind of use this as the terminology. Does God, when he counts his servants, is he counting you? Is he counting me? Now you say, well, we're born again children of God. That kind of qualifies for that. Okay. All right, but what responsibilities do you have as a child of God? All right, you say, well, I've got some, and we could enumerate them. Pardon the pun, I suppose. But then you think about, okay, at church, there's responsibilities that people have. Okay, I'm the pastor of our church here. I've got responsibilities, and if God was to count who's the pastor of the church, well, he would count one. But you know what? I'm there to be counted. And whatever my service is and my burden is, God says you're being counted because you have a particular responsibility, and you've got that, and I'm counting you because you fill that spot, you fill that area right there, and you're counted. That's you. And how about the rest of us? We at our church, we count the attendance, and sometimes it ain't important to count the attendance. Don't matter how many people's there. Well, you know what? We count. God counted. There's a lot of counting that goes on, and there's a big difference between 20 and 100. Big difference between 100 and 1,000. And when you're numbering people and counting on people, I'll give an example. All right, here's something that's important to numbering. Among the many things at our church this coming Friday, we're going to have a Love Jesus More supper. That's kind of our version of Valentine's. And so we said to the people, we want you to sign up, and we want you to tell us some sides and some desserts you're going to bring, and the church will provide the meats. But we need to know who's coming so we can figure on how much to get. See, that's important. So that's important, and the world is full of things like that, counting and keeping up with things, and helps people out here and helps people there. And sometimes you have to have a certain amount, like in football, for example. You have to have 11 men on the field for for offense, 11 on defense, and you get a penalty if you have too many on the field. And so that's important to that. So when God is counting, okay, can he count on us? Okay. Is he looking at us and saying, there's one of mine, and they have a responsibility? All right. Are you filling that slot? Is there something at your church needs? A choir, a full choir is a bigger blessing than a half full choir. There's no doubt about it. And if you're in your church and you can sing, then go join the choir. If there's something that's needed at church, then can they count on you? Can they say, you know what, we've got responsibilities here that need to be done? Are the Sunday school classes all fulfilled? Do we have gaps because we don't have anybody to put there? So you say, well, I don't want to be just considered a number. Well, a number means a soul. A number is important. And so this numbering aspect that God did, it is important to God. It shows his character. It shows exactness. It shows order. And it shows things like that. And when they started counting, look, if we didn't know how many people were saved at Pentecost, we would say, well, it's wonderful people got saved. But when we say 3,000, we go, wow, 3,000. So numbers do excite us. We have a perspective. And so when it comes down to the real basic, though, this thing about being counted on for a particular service, a job, a responsibility, something to do with working for the Lord, whether it's a paid position or not, then we're all servants of the Lord. I think we mentioned that not too long ago. And God needs to count on us. If he was numbering, are you a part of that number? So we're going to stop there. A little bit long today, but I think we get the idea here. And we'll see you tomorrow on Thankful Tuesday. Hope you all have a great day. Be safe and as healthy as possible. And Lord willing, we'll see you tomorrow.